Romans chapters 1 and 20. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yehoshai, Ba'ashem, Charakakudash, double honors to all the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone. Shouts, salutes to all the sincere elect out there. Keep on pushing as we're getting closer to the year, right, to the end. The year, we're in the year of apostates, sellouts, and agents, and that is why we're going to title this video, they are inexcusable, right? Land backing off the video I did yesterday. Wisdom is stronger than a mighty man. Something to that effect. Wisdom is stronger than a mighty man. So, but they are excusable, right? Why is that? Why is that? So I want to come back to this. There's a whole heap of meat in here. Romans 1 and 20. There's a whole heap of meat in here. And we're going to see the consequences, right, of unbelief. There's consequences to unbelief. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. Yep, and there's consequences for that. Right? Doesn't matter, you know, what kind of level you may be on as far as in the world, the worldly wisdom. Right? GBEs, master degrees. If you don't believe in God, scriptures call you a fool. So, wisdom warns. Let's get back to this. I want to just elaborate a little bit more on this. Proverbs chapter 1 and 20 says, wisdom crieth without, she uttereth her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief place of concourse, in the evenings of the gates, in the city, she uttereth her word, saying, right, in the chief place of concourse. What is that referring to? Yes, there's certain places where brothers have been, you know, official places, where they call it, there's a word for it. Anyway, Lord willing it come to me, but yeah, on location, that's the word. Brothers being certain places, monumental places, well respected places, but yes, that's part of it, and going out there on the highways and the byways. But you also got the Urim and the Thummim, what they call the internet today, Urim and the Thummim, right? Which is a whole heap of media outlets for the brothers that are fully in on understanding all the different social media apps. You got so much of them. You got X, you got you got X, you got Instagram, Twitter, Tweety. Brother calls it Tweety, but yeah. So, which is all to do with outlets, chief places of concourse, Urim and the Thummim, the line. So that's why they're inexcusable when it comes to this word, the truth. And if you want to deny that God exists, then you're just a damn fool, right? Because wisdom is crying out in the streets, right? She uttereth her voice in the streets. So really, there's no one who hasn't heard this word, right? As the saying goes, unless your head's been in the sand somewhere, no one hasn't heard this word. There's no one who hasn't heard this word. And if you haven't, right? If you haven't, you know, the Most High's got ways. The Most High's got ways of finding you. You can run, but you can't hide. So that is why, let's go back to this. These people, right, and it really comes down to scoffing and being an enemy of the Most High, as the scriptures say. For those that come against God, are an enemy. As a matter of fact, I'll see if I can tap that one in. Enemies of God. Let's see if I can find it. Enemies of God on my laptop. Enemies of God. Enemies of God, KJV Bible. Yep, that's the one. That's the one. Let me put it up on here. Let me put it up for the brothers to see. We're going in the spirit right now. I had some precepts prepared, but yeah, this spirit just wants this one to come out as well. So this is James 4:4. Says, "You adulterers." As a matter of fact, let's bearing in mind what I said yesterday, in my video yesterday. It was Matthew 7. And so James says the same thing in so many different words. James 4:3 says, "Ye ask and receive, not because you ask or miss, that you may consume it upon your lust." So when the scripture says in Matthew 7, "Ask and you shall receive, keep knocking and it shall be opened unto you." But adulterers, it says, James 4:4, Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with God? Whosoever therefore will be friends of the world is an enemy of God. Right? Those that refuse to come to this truth, which they're in their lot anyway. 2/3 have to be cut off. And obviously the enemies, the true enemies of God, the Edomites, they're really just missile food, right? Food for the missiles. But yes, those fall under the categories of enemies of God. But the sincere among us, Lord willing, the hopeful elect, if we keep on asking, right, with the right attitude, right, and we keep on fighting to the end, we're going to receive the due reward, the crowns, right? So I just wanted to get into that. We want to be right with the Most High, Lord willing. So Romans chapters 1:20 says, "For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things," right? What's that guy, David Appleby? He be going into all the different species, critter species, animal life. And even he acknowledges, yeah, these things are fascinating, but he's a fool too. He's a fool because he's not giving the credit to the creator. He's giving the credit to the creation, but not to the creator. And that's why a lot of the so-called Native American Indians was brought under that heavy yoke as well, because they started to worship the creation and not the creator. So they fall under the banner of being foolish. If you don't give credit to the creator and not the creation, you are a fool, and therefore you are what? Yeah, for his invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. So, Lord willing, we'll come back to that. This is the title of this video. What does it mean? Inexcusable. Just to get a little guideline here. It says undefensible, unjustified. Unjustified. What does inexcusable mean? There you have it. Incapable of being excused or justified. So that they ain't going to be able to slide and dodge the missiles, right? There's no mercy for people that are inexcusable. In the Latin as well, in etymology, that word there, without excuse, no excuse from in, or there you have it there in the etymology. Right, let me just see something. I can get a bit more from that. Because there's so many media outlets, right? You got the old classicals as well, right? If you want to get them breakdowns, classicals of our elders and our apostles, the classics. So there's too many media outlets on all levels, right? Attempt to clear someone, right? So you're going to be able to be what's the word? Vindicated or acquitted. That's the word. Because there's too much evidence, right? So you ain't gonna be able to be acquitted. There's too much evidence out there when it comes to this truth that's gone out there, right? Make excuse to be pardoned. In the Latin, excuse, that's about it. forgive, pardon. So there's no excuse, you can't be pardoned. Lord willing, the elect, we stay in our lot, and the elect will stay in their lots. Lord willing, the hopeful elect, so that we can be what? Pardoned, forgiven. Yep. Justified. Because the wicked of this world are inexcusable. Now, what does it say? Come back to the blue letter. Excuse. We want that word, excuse. Right? The invisible things which no spiritual men will be seeing the things that are invisible. The carnal man doesn't examine anything, but the spiritual man examines all things, loosely paraphrasing. So the word here is without excuse. 337.9. G 337.9. Without defense or excuse. So there's no barrister that's going to be able to defend you. The evidence is too overwhelming. Right? Talking about the scoffers, the agents, the apostates and the sellouts. The evidence is too overwhelming for you. And you had an opportunity to repent, but you was persuaded by the back. Right? And the apostates was persuaded by, for whatever it was, you wanted the clout, or you was just wicked and you just hated. You came back in your lot. You was one of those apostates in your previous life, so you come back to fulfill it. So there's no defense. Yahushua's blood doesn't cover you. That's another way of saying it. But Lord willing, the elect are covered. Right? If we endure, once again, if we endure to the end. Right? Just wanted to hit that. There is no excuses today. And we went into the word in the blue letter, and also the etymology. There is no excuses. And what does the fool say? I'm backing off the video I did yesterday with even some worldly quotes, which do ring true about controlling your emotions and making wise choices. Yep. So folly and wickedness. Yeah. Says the chief musician, a psalm of David, the fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt, they have done abominable works, there is none that doeth good. So in a nutshell, you can be very, very well read, you can be very, very full of acumen, so to speak, very versed in the ways of the world, the wisdom of this world. But if you don't give credit to the Most High, David Appleby, and a lot of these other so-called naturists and those people, they're still fools. They come under the banner of fools, because when the Most High returned, when Yahushua returned, when the Most High sends Yahushua, right, that's the grand finale, they ain't got no defense. They never defended Yahushua or even gave any kind of credit to Yahushua for the creation, right? Through Yahushua to the Most High, they never gave any kind of credit. And that's the mediator. Yahushua would have been the mediator. Their last opportunity to do so. So that makes them fools. There is no God to the fool. Yep. But yeah, I wanted to bring this out yesterday, but it's all right. I'm bringing it out today. Matthew 11:25 says, at that time Yahushua answered and said, I thank thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth. Right? We've took heed. The streets, when we heard this word that went out into the streets, first and foremost, it was our elders and apostles before YouTube. They was out there in the streets, on the highways and the byways, the chief places of concourse. And then we got to hear of it, for the most part, most of us, through the Urim and the Forum, the outlets, right, the media, social media outlets. And we're still hearing them now, and we're making the most of it. And for you, while you have the opportunity, as our elders and apostles and their elders, they took heed, they made the most of it, and we're making the most of what we have now, right? Through the social media outlets, what we have now, the chief places of concourse, make the most of it. I thank thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because thou hast hid these things from the wise and the prudent, and hast revealed them unto babes. Who are the wise and the prudent? People that are fully invested in this world, the wisdom of this world, wise and the prudence. With all they got letters to their name, right? You got you got a lot of high officials, so-called high educated people, and up there in Christianity. For those of us that have been there, there's a lot of vocab Malones, right? They claim to have these letters beside their name, but they're fools. Anyway, enough said on that. But the Most High has revealed them to what? The babes. Because thou hast hid these things from the wise and the prudent, and revealed them to babes. The word of Yahweh Hashem Yoshai, Kala Yahweh, Hashem Yoshai, Hashem Rakah Kodash. That makes them enemies of God, as we looked at in James 4, right? And it also makes them fools, as we looked at in Psalms 14. They are fools to the Most High. And there's another word as well. I want to spend a little bit more time on. I could have bring it out yesterday, but it's all right. I'm bringing it out today. Ecclesiastes 9 and 16. The word I want is wisdom is better than strength. Actually, I did bring it out yesterday. Nevertheless, the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heard. Yet, wisdom is more powerful than a mighty man. Probably if a lot of those men like Muhammad Ali, Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, and a lot of them men applied wisdom and had wisdom and lived and was led by wisdom, they'll be still here today. Because what did Muhammad Ali get? Muhammad Ali, he had Parkinson's, right? And I believe it was because of his big mouth, you know. To them, he had a big mouth. To a lot of these worldly people, you call them like elites. The elites probably didn't like the way he was bragging and getting on the Edomites. He became a Muslim, and he didn't want to fight. He didn't want to go to the Vietnamese and fight for the Vietnamese. He said, "What have the Vietnamese ever?" Bruce Lee's quote: "What have the Vietnamese ever done for me?" That's one of his quotes. He said, "The Vietnamese have never called me the N-word. So I'm not going to go over there and fight." And I think he had to do some time for that. May have been, I could do a future video on it and get into it. But I think he did about 3 to 5 years for not wanting to go and fight for the Edomites. He didn't want to go and fight for Babylon. But if he had wisdom, right, I think they gave him something, slipped it in his drink or something to that effect, to Muhammad Ali, because he didn't want to fight. He didn't want to be a coon. A sellout, and he had a lot to say about sellouts when he was getting into his fights. He used to get into, when he'd be fighting somebody and he believed that there was a sellout or a coon, he would just tell him straight, "You're a coon." Bruce Lee would just tell him straight. So let me find the precept I'm looking for. Let me see if I find it. So yeah, wisdom is stronger than the mighty man. There's another one I want as well. Let's find it. Yep, that's in Proverbs 16. So, yep, let's get into a little bit more of this. In 13, it says, "This wisdom have I seen also under the sun." Yeah, men are in the hands of God. All right, let's get back to it. "Have I seen also under the sun, and it seemed great unto me. There was a little city, a few men within it, and there came a great king against it, and besieged it, and built great bulwarks against it. Now there was found in it a poor wise man, and he by his wisdom delivered the city. Yet no man remembered that same poor man." Yep, that's the story. That's the principle. That's the moral of the story. It's going to tell us the moral of the story in the last one I read already. I'll read it again. "Then said I, wisdom is better than strength. Nevertheless, the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heard." Yep, that's true. Because if you got letters to your name, right, no matter what kind of physician you may be, you know what I mean? Not physician, I should, doctorate you may be. If you got letters to your name, you could just doctor something up. And that means to lie. If you've got letters to your name, you ain't got so-called letters from this people. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Letters from these people. People don't, they don't want to acknowledge you. They look down on you. They despise you, right? Same with when it comes to this truth. You got these we call these Christians today. All these different types of Christians. They went to the, and I was told this as well by one of my mother's pastors. He went through the channels, the worldly channels, to get his certificate to be a pastor and doctorer, a liar, and he gets respect for that. You know what I mean? For the most part, not for the most part, 100% of the prophets don't have that, and we don't want that from the world. And so this wisdom is despised. And that's why all the true prophets, the sincere, the true prophets, the men of the Lord, not the false prophets, the true prophets are despised, right? Because they ain't doctoring nothing up, lying enough. They're not professional liars like the liars of this world, the doctorates, right? With all the letters to their name. So, yep, wisdom is despised, and his word are not heard. And he's the one that saved the city, by the way. He's the one that protected the city. He rescued the city. How did he rescue the city? Read it again. And there was found in it a poor wise man, and he, by his wisdom, see how you see what wisdom can do. As a matter of fact, Lord, we'll then get into some of this a little bit more. What Solomon did. Future video though. What Solomon did, and Harry maintained peace. King Solomon, right, the son of David, Yehoshua, if you could receive it. Harry maintained peace for 40 years, and he built a temple. Perfect with perfect foundations, all the decoratives that you may want, and all the women that you may want, right? Um, of whom you may choose, because of the wisdom. Wisdom is a powerful thing, but wisdom is at the same time, wisdom is despised in this world. Yeah. So this poor man didn't get no respect, but it's all right. Same with us. The prophets never got no respect. The prophets were despised. I think that's the point I wanted to make on that. Right? So the words of a wise man are heard in quiet, more than the cry of him that ruleth among fools. Yeah, the doctorates. Right? I mean, you know, if you visited one if you visited them, sometimes you just have to. But if you have, they're the ones that have got, in the patience. The place is full up, right? The place is full up, man, and all these other graveyard places, it's all full up because these people, they know how to doctor things up. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroyeth much good. Yep, that's true. One sinner with his emotions, like I was touching on yesterday, the quote from Bruce Lee, right? That emotions destroy you. Yep, and something similar what Yoda said. Wisdom. What did he say? Hate. He said hate. He said emotions. He said emotions lead to hate. Hate leads to. Let me find that quote, man. There's a very good quote. Let me pull it up right now on my tablet. Yeah, that's what he said. So this is one famous quote from Yoda. He said, fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. Yep. So that's the slippery slope for those that pursue the dark side. And that was in the episode 1 of Star Wars. Yoda's quote. And it was very, their relationship with Yoda, the old wise man Yoda, with his wise head on his shoulder, directing the young upstart. I think that goes into certain things, but they may have come from the scriptures. You know, certain of the scriptures, as far as getting into the wisdom and the Ecclesiastes and the songs of wisdoms of Solomon's. But yep, it's true. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. But let's get back here. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroyeth much good. Yeah, I was on point. Yep. One sinner, right? Darth Vader. I'm not a tricky, but just keeps coming back. But Darth Vader, he destroyed himself. He went to the dark side. Hence, a lot of if you leave this truth and you take a bag, and we got the example of Elazar. If you saw the video, right, brother put up a video about how Elazar, he will be dressed in black. He's gone back to his on the path of the dark side, and it shows because it's a man's countenance shows who he is. That dark countenance, and he'd be dressed all in black, just like Yoda. Not Yoda, just like Darth Vader. He'd be dressed all in black and brandishing all that, posing and trying to just. He's gone down the road of an influencer, down the dark side. So that's what happens. Yep, one sinner destroyeth much good. And yeah, that's what happens when you go to the dark side. The likes of Elazar, Sikari, they've all dispersed, and they've all gone down the road of the dark side. Yeah, wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroyeth much good. Going back to this again. Going back to this. A violent man enticeth his neighbor and leadeth him. Proverbs chapter 16:29. And leadeth him unto the way that is not good. Yeah. If you took the bag, you've gone to the dark side. Enough said on that. You become violent. Let me just see something. He shutteth his eyes to devise froward things, moving his lips. He bringeth evil to pass. Yep. Took in the bag. He's took in the bag. So I just wanted to highlight that. As a matter of fact, I touched on it a little bit yesterday. But it's so nice. I got to do it more than once. I got to do it twice. Reading on. The hoary head is a crown of glory. It is to be found in the way of righteousness. Yeah. Representing wisdom. The hoary head representing wisdom. Alright. Going in the ways of wisdom. That is the opposite to the dark side. He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty. Yep. Controls his emotions. Yep. And he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city. Yeah. Backing up the precept we read in Ecclesiastes 9. Yep. That's all I wanted to bring out of that. Yep. He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city. Man, I want to bring it out again. Then said I, wisdom is... slow down. I know it's a beautiful thing, but let's savor it. Ecclesiastes 9:15 once again. Now there was found in it a poor wise man, and he by his wisdom delivered the city. Yet no man remembered that same poor man. Then said I, wisdom is better than strength. Nevertheless, the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heard. In this world, you ain't got the doctorates, you ain't got the letters to your name. You're despised. But it's all right, because it's prophecy, it's just the way it is, and that's how the Most High wanted it. Matthew 11:25 again. At that time, Yahushua answered and said, I thank thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because thou hast hid these things from the wise and the prudent, and hast revealed them unto the babes. The Wada Yahweh. The Wada Kala Yahweh. But wisdom is everywhere, man. It cries out in the streets, as we looked at in Proverbs 1:20. Cries out in the streets. It's interesting because Proverbs 1:20 and Romans 1:20 are very, very much the same. Very, very similar. Which goes into that they're excusable. They are excusable. Yep. For the things, the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen. That's very similar to that. The wisdom be crying out in the streets, the chief places of concourse. Proverbs chapters 1:20, Romans chapters 1:20. It's just it's almost like very much the same. Yeah, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. That's just the Spirit, and let the Spirit flow. Let the Spirit speak. So these people are inexcusable, and that's the title of this video. They're inexcusable. There is no excuse for the wicked. The fool has said in his heart that there is no God. Right? So that just makes them inexcusable and fools. And that's all I got to say about that. The Wadi Yobashima Shai. Until the next one.